Hey guys, this is Kelly again. This is going to be a public video in regards to Michael Jackson's 5-year anniversary of his death. Now, my thoughts and feelings have always been the same. Michael died almost 5 years ago, not being observed by a doctor who should know what the fuck he's doing. Pardon my language. I'm gonna have a lot of swearing here, so it's gonna offend a lot of people. Um, you don't leave the world's most famous pop star hooked up to an anesthetic that is used for surgery in a home setting, knowing that it is not safe, knowing that that person could die. I'm still mad. I'm still angry. Yes, we are part of Michael's legacy. The thing I don't understand is Conrad Murray gets to see his children. He has like 5 or 6 kids, maybe more than that now. I mean, he's got multiple girlfriends. He's got a wife that doesn't know he has women on the side. And yeah, he's got 5 or 6 kids, and he's able to see his children on a daily basis. He's been released from jail. He's kept a low profile since he's been released. But this dumb bastard has the ability to be able to see his children grow up and live normal lives. Michael was on the verge of coming back from being gone off stage for more than a decade. Told us, March 2009, coming back. This will be the last tour I do. My fans are gonna hear all their favorite songs, and he was hopeful. He had that gleam in his eye, but something wasn't right. You could sense something was gonna happen. And I was happy. I was at home. I've said this many times. I'll tell it as many times as I need to, for those that don't know, or haven't heard my side of how I feel about this whole thing. Um, I was at home. My siblings were on summer break. My mom and my dad were out at the casino, and mom was getting ready to go on a 2-week trip to see one of her relatives. I had slept. I got up early. I had an inkling that something was going to happen. And I got up and I sat in my brother's John's room that is now Michael's room. I sat in there feeling wonderful. Sorry, cat noise is going on in the background. I sat in my brother's John's room for a good 20 minutes. I was hopeful. I hadn't eaten anything. I was going to get lunch. I was sitting there, and they had talked about a child that had gone missing that they had found. It was a happy story. But after that story was reported, and it was a happy ending for that child, they talked about Michael. And Mike Galanos, who I have much love and respect for, because he's always been polite in regards to Michael, which I absolutely love. I don't have to be mad at him. But he said, breaking news, Michael Jackson has been rushed to the hospital. Michael Jackson collapsed at home. He's unconscious, he's not responsive. And they were trying to talk to multiple doctors in regard to what has to be done to a person who is in cardiac arrest or distress. And they kept telling the doctors, like, well, he needs to do CPR and get hit where he needs to be to get the CPR done. Get him on the floor, start chest compressions, get him breathing, get a pulse, all of that. And, they kept their tone. Michael Lanos' tone was very, very depressed, very sad and depressing. It sounded very sad and depressing. And I just kept showing pictures of Michael, his whole career, him dealing with legal troubles, seeing him with his kids, seeing him in concert, his first 2 marriages, trials and all that stuff. Talk about that. And then it went from Michael Jackson's been rushed to the hospital to Michael's in a coma. They had gotten him to the hospital. They were trying to do CPR on him. They continued to do it after he got into the hospital, and shortly, two hours later, it went from Michael Jackson's in a coma to Michael Jackson's dead. Now, mind you, I was already crying tears because I knew something bad was gonna happen. I didn't know what it was. All I knew was that Michael Honest's tone was telling me he still doesn't look good. It's not good at all. And my mom, like I said, sorry, I've been fighting sleep for the last few days. Said he's dead. And as he was saying, as Michael Honest was saying that, um, his tone just got really sad. Like he became kind of quiet, and I just sat there. I was like, no, this can't be happening. No, and it was depressing. And I had the news on, and my siblings were asking me what the hell's going on. I told them, I said Michael Jackson's dead, and John just stood there quiet. Catherine was stunned. Michael, my little brother Michael, was laughing his ass off. I didn't think it was funny. I just sat there and I said, he's dead. Michael's dead. And my sibs, one of them, Jonathan, called my mother because my mother was still at the casino. She had to come home to leave for her trip. She called Mom up and I was in tears. I said, Mommy, I said, Mom, I said, he's gone, Mom, he's gone. And she said, what are you talking about? I said, Michael Jackson's dead. She's like, no, he's not. I said, yes, he is. He's dead, Mom. You don't believe me? Get your ass home and see what the fuck's on the computer, on the TV screen. Come home and see for yourself how bad this is. And as I was telling her that, I had tears streaming down my face. I was inconsolable, and I wouldn't stop crying. And I just sat there. I was like, no, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. And Mom finally came to the door. My dad had the news channel out on in the living room. But when my mother came to see for herself how bad it was, she couldn't believe it. And she had to pick me up off the floor because I didn't want to be touched. She kept asking, "Are you okay? Are you alright?" I told her, I said, "No, I'm not okay, Mom. He's gone. He's not going to come back." And she held me for like, I don't know, a good 20 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. But it was very short. She had to leave for a trip. Um, but she kept asking me. She said, "You sure you're gonna be okay?" Because she sounded like she wanted to cancel the trip, and I didn't want her to cancel because she needed a break. And I said, "Just go, Mom. I'm gonna be okay." She's like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "If not, call me. I'll give you Uncle Dale's number and call me." Uh, I I was a complete mess. I think I only slept for about maybe 3-4 hours that night. Yes. I was in my brother John's room from 3:30 in the afternoon that day to 11, almost midnight later that night. And I didn't get to sleep till after midnight, so I only got 3 or 4 hours of sleep. And I was a mess. I couldn't sleep. I didn't want to eat it. My dad had to force me to eat. He was like, "You gotta get something in your system. You have to eat. You have to eat. You have to sleep. I don't care what you gotta do, but you gotta get some rest. You gotta eat." And I was so mad. More than I was sad because I knew that eventually someone would be held responsible for this. And all I could do is think, I hope I find out who did it. And I kept watching the news to see what the hell was happening. And it made me, it pissed me off. And I had, like I said, I had in my last video that I did for this, I had to get drunk in order to go to sleep. My sleeping patterns were off for a good 2 weeks, you know. But after that, it got a little easier. It wasn't so difficult to deal with, but there are times where I, think about him and I think about my mom. This is one of the things I have trouble with, because every time this day would roll around, when my mom was still here, she'd say, "It's gonna be okay, sweetheart. It's okay. He's not suffering anymore. He's at peace now." I was like, "Yeah, Mom, but it still hurts. It's difficult. Do you understand? Like, do you get it at all? Like, do you have any clue?" And she got it. She understood, because she was the one that introduced me to Michael's music and who he was, and I fell in love with him. A little 9-year-old kid fell in love with him. And when I got put into foster care, I turned to Michael's music for a guide, for a coping mechanism, because sometimes I couldn't cope with that, and that was Michael's music was my connection to my mother. And a lot of people didn't like that. Talk about Michael or talk about Arnold, but mainly Michael. It helped a lot, and a lot of people weren't comfortable with that. But like I said, my sleeping patterns for that first few months after his passing were really bad. I felt like I was going to miss something, and I had countless MJ footage captured on tape that I had. I taped everything. I put some of it to disc. I felt like I needed to hold on to something that would help me cope. Because it got so bad, I didn't even know how I was going to cope with it. But thankfully, with my mother helping me with it, it made it a lot easier. It was difficult at times, but I think, with my mom being around to help at that time, that was what made it easier for me to cope with, because she too understood what it was like to be a Michael Jackson fan. She loved him just as much as I did. And now with the 5th anniversary rolling around, just around the corner, not even around the corner, I'm doing this early because I'm not going to have any energy to do any videos for a while, until these next few weeks pass. But my mother connected me to him, and I connected it to him in a way that I could see the loving, caring side of him. I didn't care what the media said. I didn't give a rat's ass what he looked like. I didn't care what his skin color was. I didn't care about his appearance. All I cared about was him doing what he did best, which was to make music and make everybody else happy. And see him be a loving daddy to his kids, that put a smile on my face. I loved seeing that so much. And the thing that pains me out of everything I've ever had to deal with is not having my mother here to help me cope with this. Because when this day would roll around, I'd be crying, and she was, "Why are you crying for?" I said, "I miss Michael. Do you understand? I miss Michael. I love Michael." She said, "I know, baby. I know. Mama knows. Mama understands." So in that sense, I had an ally in my mother. And as for a special someone in my life, I had him turn into a MJ friend too. Uh, we're going to be sharing some memories here, so this will kind of keep the tears from coming. This is going to be a long video, somewhat, maybe not. There was one instance where I had this special someone. He didn't know. He knew who Michael was. He wasn't sure if he'd like him or not. And I said, "Okay, you want to know who Michael Jackson is?" And I started telling him stories, about him being a great artist. Like, so, I don't believe you. So I dug through my Michael Jackson CDs that I had in my possession at that time. I dug through that collection, and I dug through to see if I had any spares, had any copies. And what I did was I took the copies I had, and I brought them on the school bus. And I told him, I said, close your eyes, hold out your hands, hold them out like this. And he said, okay. I said, your eyes closed? He said, yes. And I said, okay. Your eyes are closed. Hold up, give me your hands. Hold out your hands. And I gave him History, Past, Present, Future, Book 1. I gave him Thriller. And I just gave him History, Past, Present, Future, Book 1. Started out that way. And I said, okay. Well, I actually gave him Thriller too, but I gave him both those CDs. And I said, okay, now open your eyes and look down. He said, okay. So he opened his eyes and he looks down and he says, oh my God, are you serious? I said, yeah, take it. It's yours. It's like, no way. I'm like, yes way, take it. It's yours. You can have them. And he just was stunned. He was all smile. Mr. Bierman sitting there having a big fat smile on his face, just seeing how that special someone reacted. And needless to say, I got him hooked. So, he was overjoyed. He was happy as could be. And he was just thrilled. And he was happy. And then after that, things, Michael going through the second phase of molestation accusations, having to be arrested and, go through that whole thing. I had to have my mom help me cope because it was so bad. I didn't know how to handle it because I was too young to know what the hell was going on the first time in '93. But as I grew older and I started to learn about what the hell was happening the first time and seeing it happen again, being a teenager and going into adulthood, I began to understand that you can't always trust the justice system. You can't trust people that are in charge of that because they get what they want and they screw people over. And I got severely angry, and I had people in my inner circle that were mad at me because they felt I was becoming obsessed. I was worrying too much, and I said, Michael, I can't stand seeing him like this. It kills me. And I was literally wanting to cry so bad one time during class. I thought I was going to have an emotional breakdown. Like, it was that bad. And I couldn't cope with it. Sad to say it. This is special someone I've been talking about. He's saying, it's going to be okay. Michael's going to be fine. Michael's going to be alright. Mr. Bierman was saying the same thing. It's going to be okay. It's going to be alright. Yeah. Pay attention. But don't listen to the prosecution because the prosecution's been telling you lies. So I went through that whole phase of watching him go through that, and it nearly destroyed me emotionally. Like, it made my belief in the adult, human nature be bitter. Like, I couldn't understand why people do something like that in order to gain financial means, get money, just so that they can hurt someone of that caliber. But after that whole incident, after he got acquitted, I could breathe. I didn't have to worry about anything else, and had moved on with my life, and I was at peace with that. It didn't bother me. I was watching Michael go through these phases of trying to pick himself up. Him going away for a while overseas to rebuild himself, to get himself where he needed to be emotionally, mentally, and physically, because that whole trial fucked him up really, really bad. Like, just really took a toll on him, so he had to go away and rebuild himself. I watched him go through that phase of rebuilding himself, and I when he came back, off and on, coming back to the States for certain awards and stuff, just to check in with everyone. He looked fantastic. He looked healthy. He was smiling. He was happy, and trying to pick himself back up. And, I was happy to see that. Um, and I was happy. And then when the announcement for the tours came, I just sat there. I was like, can he do this? Can he really put on 50 shows and do what he still does? Because I was, I'd seen how he had looked. And he didn't look, he was there. But the look on his face and the tone in his voice was just, it was like he didn't know what else to say. He paused in between his speech. But the one thing I'll remember him saying for the rest of my life is, I love you guys so much. You have to know that. I love you so much. The tone in his voice, it was kind of depressing and sad. I had my mother watch the announcement with me, and I said, Mama, I said, do you think he could do this? Do you think he'd be well enough to do it? She's like, honey, he's 50 years old. He can do anything. He's the most famous pop star in the world right now. He can do anything he wants, You and I will be there, here at home watching him. Trying to go on stage and do what he does best. And, but after that whole thing, watching him make the announcement, hearing about him, not really seeing anything for a couple months, or at least a month and a half, 2 months, but hearing about him being rushed to the hospital, being unconscious, it scared the crap out of me, because I had heard something like this similar that happened in '95. He was able to get to the hospital in time, and they saved him from dying. And I remember hearing about that, and I was like, because I had read about it, and heard about it, watching old clips from the history era where they talked about him being rushed to the hospital because of exhaustion and a whole bunch of other things. Being rushed to the hospital and then coming home, trying to recuperate. So when I heard about it the second time, I was thinking, well, he's going to pull through, he's going to make it. But on the other hand, I was like, no, something's not right, something's not okay. And as soon as I heard Alanos' voice just drop, like, go from being somewhat optimistic to really depressed sound tone that he had, I knew he was gone. Like, Alanos had to pause for maybe less than 30 seconds. And they said, Michael Jackson's dead. And as soon as he said that, my heart sank. Not to mention having to see constant video footage. Various videos Michael did, various pictures from different eras of his life. Seeing him with his kids, seeing him with his two wives that he had, and then having to rehear the speech that he gave for the announcement of the tour just killed me. And I don't know how else to say it, but it just pisses me off. Michael does not have the chance to see his children grow up to become young adults. While Conrad Murray gets to see his kids on a daily basis whenever he wants. Gets to spend time with his kids, take his kids to the park, do whatever he wants. But Michael does not get that chance. Michael does not get to comfort Prince Paris and blanket. Michael does not get the chance to tell his son, the birds and bees talk, or father and son talk, that fathers and sons usually have as the son's going into adulthood. And I thank God I have a special person back in my life again, because he was able to help me cope with this. He was able to pick me up off the floor, say, it's okay, if you need to call me, If you need to talk, we can talk. I'm right here, I'm not going to go anywhere, I promise. And I said, how'd you deal with it? He said, I got drunk, I got high off drugs, I barely ate. And he said all I could think about was you. Because I was in a group home and I was watching the news. And when they announced his passing, all I could think about was, oh shit, I hope she's okay. I hope she's alright. I hope she didn't do anything stupid. And he said, I tried to call you, I wanted to write you, but they wouldn't let me. And yeah, he literally had to tell him, look, one of my friends is having a real tough time right now. I need to know how I can get a hold of her to see if she's okay. And like the people that were in charge were like, why? You know, what's this? What does this mean to you? It's like, for one, I'm a Michael Jackson fan and I love Michael to death. And two, I have someone that I actually care about that is taking this really, really difficult right now. And they wouldn't let him in. He went ballistic on their asses. He said, you know, I tried to call you. I tried to make sure you're okay. The truth is, I'm okay. It doesn't, I mean, I'm still sad, but I'm more pissed off than anything else, you know, having anything else come out of this. Knowing that Michael's not here to see his children grow up and become young adults, or him having to get, you know, wanting to get remarried and have more children, pisses me off. I don't know how else to say this. I don't like Conrad Murray. I never did like Conrad Murray. I'm never gonna like Conrad Murray. Conrad Murray's not gonna get my support. Conrad Murray can rot in hell, for all I care. And for those that think anything different, you know, that's your opinion. But for the fans of Michael Jackson, you will never ever be the same ever again. Ever. Majority of these fans have been fans longer than I have, before I was born. So, you know, that tells you something. Michael did something for all of us in a way that people in our lives, you know, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, husbands, wives, whatever, they don't understand the bond that we had with Michael. Yes, we did not know him personally, but we had a connection with him that made it easier for us to, his music made it easier for us to cope with life. Because, you know, and to cope with different things and learn how to be forgiving and be loving and try not to be so bitter, which is what I've learned in my almost 28 years of life. But now I've come to know that even though you try to be nice and polite and kind to people and be forgiving, show them that you are a kind person, you can still be treated like crap. You can't please everyone. That's the sad thing. This is what's made me so bitter. I've tried to be forgiving. I've tried to be nice. I've tried to be polite. That doesn't work. And they wonder, you know, why some of us get the way we do. We go out of our way to be kind, polite, and loving. But not a lot of people want to see that. They want to focus on what they hear from other people, and it's not necessarily the truth, you know. So I don't. My thoughts and opinions on Conrad Murray will stay the same. My thoughts on Michael will stay the same. Michael's always going to be that one person that all of us look up to. It doesn't matter if you're famous, not famous, if you're, you know, a youngster, if you're a long time veteran fan that's been around to see Michael, you know, become the man that he became. A lot of these artists I have respect for because, you know, the majority of them, Usher, Cisco, you know, the guys from NSYNC, uh, Jesse McCartney, all those other people that I just mentioned, minus Justin Bieber, have managed to keep themselves out of trouble and follow the guidelines that Michael has set for them. Justin Bieber needs to learn that. No, I don't like Justin Bieber, but I wish this kid would learn to straighten up some. Learn from Michael. Do not do stupid stuff. You learn to stay out of trouble. You won't have people hating on you so much. But yeah, my thoughts and opinions on Conrad Murray will forever stay the same. My thoughts on Michael will forever stay the same. I have nothing but love and respect for this man. I wish other people would learn that. I wish other celebrities would take this stuff that he has brought out, that he has made full aware of all the stuff that we've had to endure being on this planet and learning how to forgive and love one another. We just learn to do that. If we don't learn to do that, we wouldn't be doing the crap that we're doing now. Yes, I know people are getting mad at me for having to say this, but these are my thoughts. This is what I've had to learn for a very long time, and it didn't kick in until after I lost my mom. But yeah, that's the thing that Michael's taught me is to try and forgive, try to be nice, try to be loving, and do unto others as you would do to you, or however you want to word that. Um, this is how I truly feel, and I know I'm not gonna have a lot of people that agree, but that's fine. I just wish this never happened to begin with. I wouldn't be this depressed. I wouldn't sound this pissed off. Had this not happened, Michael would still be here. We wouldn't be hearing family dramas. Jermaine being pissed about the new album. Only the other brothers, minus Jermaine, giving praise for it. I love Michael. I love Michael. I love his children. I love his mother. I love the siblings except for Jermaine. Okay. This is what makes me sad about all of this. This is the kids are vulnerable. They can't trust everyone. Michael had to learn that very early in life, not to trust everyone. Because everyone you shake hands with or pat you on your back isn't always your friend. You can't even trust your own family members. You can't have. This is the one thing that I'm glad I don't have. I'm glad I'm not famous, because once you get famous and you do have a love life, you do date or whatever, then your love life gets put out in public for public view. You know, for Michael, I don't even know how he tolerated that, and I wish he would have given fans instructions on how to deal with people, because people aren't always going to be nice. They're not always going to be, nice to people. They're going to be bitter, jealous, because people who are bitter and jealous don't like to see the ones they dislike the most happy. Would rather the people that are jealous would rather see the person that they dislike the most suffer. And I just wish Michael could have given his fans a better way to cope with all of this, because a lot of us have to deal with jealous people. We try and be happy, but eventually when we get happy, someone that does not like what they see, mainly us being happy, they want to mess that up. And sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not. So like I said, my thoughts on Michael will forever be the same. My thoughts on Conrad Murray, no matter how many years pass, several years from now, I'll still feel the same way about Conrad Murray. I don't forgive the son of a bitch. I don't like him. I don't want to see his face. I don't want to hear him talk. I hate him. I don't like him. I don't have nice things to say. And what I've said so far is going to be enough, because I'm not going to say anymore. If I say anymore, someone, a hater or a fan could say, well, you're getting too carried away. A lot of other fans that are like me feel the exact same way. But, I will try to do as Michael's taught all of us to do. It's extremely hard, I had one person who I'm close with. I'm not going to mention any names. I've already mentioned one. Saying, you don't know who Michael is. He's a public figure. He's a celebrity. You don't know him. Why do you praise him? Why are you so infatuated with this guy? Well, you got to remember, I was 9 years old when I became a fan of Michael Jackson. 9 years old, and when I was 9, I had some traumatic stuff happen. Through all that trauma that I endured, I used Michael's music to cope, because I didn't know how else to cope. I was not. Most kids that are that young, that are going through something that's traumatic cut. And they start popping pills, they do drugs, they start having sex early. I didn't do any of that. I had my parents keep me in line as much as I possibly could. But yeah, Michael's music was the main thing keeping me going. When nobody else knew what was going on, I wouldn't share anything personal with anybody, even if they did try to get close, because I felt that if I told them what was bothering me or what made me so happy, that they would try and stop me from doing what I wanted to do. And that's, it's part of life, but I couldn't. I'm beginning to learn from Michael. Can't tell everybody everything, because they're not your friend. They'll eventually turn on you and treat you like crap. Which sadly for me in the last few years, I've had to learn the hard way, and it sucks. But yeah, that's my thoughts for now. If I have to, I'll probably do another one. Oh yeah, depending on what my mood is. So, that's it for now.